Foreigners would basically get everything for free, like free vodka, free drinks, free cake. Some people would even get paid just to show up at the club. I did see a lot of shady things happening. I honestly think that it was really unfair that there were different rules for Chinese students and different rules for foreign students. We all lived next to each other, but we were living such different lives. Yo guys, what is up? I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to a series where I will be discussing different chapters and different topics really related to my book, I Lived in Shanghai. As you guys know, I've just published my very first book about the time that I used to live in China and attend Fudan University. And you know what? I've always said that if I had to write a whole freaking book just about Shanghai's nightlife, I could totally do that. In my previous videos, I sort of just showed you the fun sides of nightlife. And in this video, I also want to discuss more of the serious topic, both the good and the bad, and also the dark sides of nightlife. Like, let's be honest, obviously, being a young person going out in Shanghai, I did see a lot of shady stuff. When you have a country and a city where there's a lot of wealth, and let's be honest, Shanghai is a very wealthy city, and it's also a city where a lot of people are accumulating more and more wealth. Those people, those 25 million people living in Shanghai, will want to have fun. And I just kind of find it interesting because I feel like whenever I talk to someone and I tell them like, oh my god, partying in Shanghai was just like next level, and trust me, whoever has been to Shanghai, maybe, I mean, I don't know if tourists necessarily experience that, but whoever has lived in Shanghai or been there for a longer period of time, I swear to god, I don't think anyone could disagree with me on this one. I think Shanghai really has so much to offer when it comes to after dark entertainment. My experience of being a university student and going out in Shanghai was quite different than I think it would be if I would live somewhere in the West, in Europe or States. What made it so different was the fact that I feel like in Shanghai, foreigners, young foreign kids, let's be honest, that's what we were, we had access to the best places in town. We went to the most incredible bars on top of like skyscrapers with crazy skyline views. We went to amazing nightclubs, and the only reason why we actually did that, or we could allow ourselves to do that instead of going to like dodgy student bars somewhere in basement, was because we were basically getting everything for free. Times are changing. Shanghai is changing, China is changing. The more and more foreigners come to China, the more foreigners come to Shanghai. Already nowadays, I feel like that changed a little in Shanghai. But a couple of years back, that was the case. Being a foreigner in Shanghai, back then, being a student was basically like heaven. We could go to the best places, places that we would never go to if we would be home back in Europe, because we would be never able to afford to go to these places. In Shanghai, we could go there because we didn't have to pay for anything. There are two ways how you would be able to go to all these really fancy, nice places without actually paying for it. The first one was through promoters. So basically, clubs in Shanghai, bars, clubs, whatever, they would find promoters, often also foreign students or just students in general, because, well, those people have access or they know a lot of other young people who are interested in going to parties. They would find promoters, and those promoters would find people who they would invite to those clubs and give them free drinks, free tables, free vodka, free cake if there was someone's birthday, like, and most of the time it was like a free flow. As many free drinks as you wanted. Of course, that really depends also, but if you knew the right promoters, you could basically go anywhere in the city, get a table and bottles for free. Why would clubs do this, you might be wondering. Basically, competition in a city where you have 25 million people is tough. There are a lot of places and they're simply competing against each other, and there was this belief, I'm saying was because I feel like that really changes, that foreigners in a club is sort of, it brings prestige to the club. So yeah, that's why a lot of places really wanted foreigners, especially like young foreigners who would be really like, you know, partying it up. And imagine a bunch of like 20-year-old kids who would get like free bottles and free everything, entrance. I mean, people would obviously go nuts. And it kind of looks good for a club if you have a lot of people just like enjoying themselves. So some people were getting everything for free, but there were also people who were getting paid to come to clubs and just like have fun, basically. So some clubs in Shanghai would hire so-called models. Sometimes there were actual models, like people who were actually modeling. Basically, they would hire good-looking people and they would pay them. They would obviously get them tables and, you know, alcohol, but they would also pay them on top of that to just come to a club, have fun, party, and just be there. That is true. I knew people who were doing it, who were partying for money. Yes, possibly the best job ever. I remember always thinking and looking at those people who would actually probably like, you know, purchase their own table and their own expensive whiskey bottles, and they would be just like sitting there sipping their whiskey, thinking, did they actually know that the only reason why we were there was because we're getting everything for free? I don't know, maybe they knew, maybe some of them didn't. The second way to get into all these nice places was through ladies' nights. So basically, I guess ladies' nights, that's something that is more popular in some places. Not where I grew up in Copenhagen, there is no such a thing as ladies' nights. But basically what it is that clubs, bars, they choose one random night of the week. Usually it's something random like Tuesday or Wednesday or Monday. Basically, women can come for free and they get free drinks. My girlfriends and I, we would always like dress up, wear nice heels and dresses, and we would go to these like amazing bars with skyline view and just like, you know, sip on champagne. It wasn't really about getting wasted or anything. Well, sometimes. It was more just like being in those really, really nice places that we could otherwise never be able to afford. Because the thing is, some people do think that like China, oh, it's cheap. Shanghai is not cheap. China is a very big country, and yes, there are places in the country that are way more affordable than in the Western cities. However, in Shanghai, a lot of prices can be quite similar to Western cities. Nightlife in Shanghai was not equally good to everyone. See, like I get kind of uncomfortable talking about it on like my YouTube channel. I was way more comfortable talking about stuff like racism in my book. It's a difficult topic to discuss, especially on YouTube, where I feel like so many things are being misunderstood, and I really don't want anyone to misunderstand. I don't want to say anything that is not correct, like, and offend someone. Basically what I'm trying to say is that, you know, nightlife, I think everywhere really, because, well, for me growing up in Copenhagen, I saw a lot of racism in nightlife in Copenhagen. Nightlife in Shanghai was great for people like me, Caucasian with long blonde hair, but it was not necessarily equally great to everyone. The first time when I was made aware of that was when I was coming back home with friends. It was like, you know, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. We're getting out of a taxi and we're about to enter the campus, like where we all lived. We lived in a dorm. And one of my friends realized that she forgot her student ID. And I still remember this night very well because I was honestly shocked. She realizes that she doesn't have her ID and she starts telling us that she doesn't have it. Like, what will happen now? Maybe they will not let me into the campus. So basically the campus would be, there were gates and they would close the gates at night. And I remember when she started saying it, I was like, mate, it's like 3 a.m. Who the F cares? Like in the beginning, I didn't even understand why she would talk about it. Like I didn't even know if I had my student ID. Maybe I probably didn't. I was like, why would I carry my student ID with me? Like whenever we would go to all these clubs, like no one ever asked us about ID. And that's when I was made aware of the fact that my friend was originally Chinese, or her parents were Chinese, so she was second generation Chinese. That night I found out that Chinese students were not allowed to leave the campus at night, or they could leave, but they wouldn't be able to come back. And obviously if you live at a dorm, like, you are not able to come back to your home. And we could. Foreign students could freely go in and out, like there was no limit really. Obviously when I found out, I was shocked. I thought it was really weird. It didn't matter how old you were. It was just a rule. If you are a student staying at the dorm, you're not allowed to, you know, come back to the campus until like 5 a.m. or something. Later on, when I would talk to some other Chinese students, when I would ask them about it, they said that it wasn't like such a huge problem for them because they would usually just stay at the campus, at the dorm for the first year of their university degree, and then later on they would, you know, get apartments and move out. So it wasn't like such a huge issue for them, but still different people were treated differently, and there were different rules for foreign students and different rules for Chinese students. We all lived next to each other, but we were living such different lives. Obviously, as we all know, some people can have fun and be fine. Some people get too caught up in it. And I saw a lot of people in Shanghai getting too caught up in it. Some people just couldn't control it. I think the fact that, one, we were all far away from our families, so there was no one to control. And two, there were a lot of temptations. You know, when you are a 20-something-year-old living in a city where every freaking day of the week, and I swear to God, in Shanghai, it would be normal to go out on like a Monday or Tuesday. Every single day of the week, you had multiple different clubs, multiple different bars with freaking skyline view, where you would get everything for free. Why wouldn't you? I mean, some people wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't go out on Monday, that's a lie, sometimes I did. But you know, sometimes, and most of the time I would still come to class the day after. People can, you know, have fun and then the next day they still come to class. I mean, that's what college kids do, right? That's pretty normal. But of course, there are also people who couldn't do it, who would get way too carried away. Don't forget to check out my book, I Lived in Shanghai, if you want to hear more stories. It's available on Amazon, both as an ebook and a physical book. If you have ever been to Shanghai, let me know in the comments if you agree with me that Shanghai is like the best freaking nightlife city in the world. Or if you actually lived in Shanghai, let me know if you have some like crazy stories or crazy experiences or weird experiences, shady experiences with nightlife in Shanghai. I would really love to hear them. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to turn on the notifications so you're notified every time I post a new video. I will be making a lot of videos like this one where I will be discussing different topics about life in China and my experience living in Shanghai. So yeah, I hopefully see you soon. Bye.